And he says, you know, the Queen, Her Majesty is very upset. Where are the jewels? Where are the jewels? And there weren't any jewels, any royal jewels.
That is so tacky if that happened.
Yeah, it is.
That's just tacky.
And at the same time, there's another thing going on. Charles is calling from Balmoral Castle, where the royal family was, and he talks to the nurses directly. And he says, you know, Diana will be very concerned about how she looks. She'll want to look her best. And by the way, he kept talking about her in the present tense, which is rather sad. But so please make sure she's wearing her favorite earrings.
Her little gold earrings.
Right, the ones that we see in the pictures just before the crash. So they went and looking for them. They found one earring, but they could never find the other one. And so she didn't wear them that day, but 7 weeks later they found the earring embedded in the dashboard of the car.
Just gives you an idea of the magnitude of that crash.
Incredible. The force of the collision was amazing.
Yeah, after reading your book, I felt much more sympathetic towards Charles. He seemed so vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
And his love for her really, I could feel it.
Right, and I don't think he realized how much affection he still had for her. I mean, this was a real defining moment in his life, I think. He walked into the room. He was led there by Beatrice Humbert, the chief nurse at the hospital where Diana was taken. This wasn't a job. She didn't relish having this job. Obviously, she was very emotional as well. They walked in, and he just stood by the coffin and looked down at Diana's face, and he just reeled backwards. And she said as if he was hit by some unseen force. And then he began to pass out, which a lot of people did that day, by the way, people who saw her. But he managed to get hold of himself, and they started comforting Diana's sisters who were standing there. They were weeping, so it was quite a scene.
They were faced with quite a dilemma at the hospital because when they were trying to save her life, they obviously had to rip off all of her clothes, and dignitaries were coming to view the body. What to put on the princess?
Exactly. Well, this is where Mohammed Al-Fayed, Dodi's father, steps in. By the way, he got to the hospital even before Diana died from England. He took his helicopter and zoomed right to the hospital in just moments before Diana died, but he ordered that all of the clothing of Diana's, all her possessions, and Dodi's be sent back to London. So when they went to dress her, to place her in the casket, the nurses could find nothing to dress her in. So there was this huge search, frantic search throughout Paris to find something to clothe Diana in. And they ended up borrowing a dress from Sylvia Jay, the wife of Sir Michael Jay, the ambassador, the British ambassador to France. So I just think it's amazing. And by the way, they borrowed shoes from the ambassador's wife as well. And, you know, the most fashionable woman of all time going back to her home in England.
In a borrowed black dress.
Right. It's amazing.
I thought it was really odd that she had evidently, you say, mentioned that in the event of her death, she wanted a casket that would allow her face to be viewed.
Right.
And it was.
Right, exactly. The nurses said they'd never seen anything quite like this. It was brought from the funeral home. Apparently, she had mentioned this to her butler once. It's a little window in the lid so you can see very clearly the face of the person in the casket. So while we all, you know, the billions of people watching this on television around the world saw her casket coming down the stairs draped with the royal standard of the House of Windsor, you would have seen her face had that flag not been on the casket.
You talk about the continuing rumors swirling around this love story. When we come back, was the princess pregnant? Our next guest will shock you when he reveals who the father might be. We'll see you back here. We have spoken with the leading authorities covering the investigation of Princess Diana's death, including Chris Dickey, who's with Newsweek. And we started out our conversation in Paris by talking about blame. Who do you think will ultimately bear responsibility? I mean, do you think that members of the paparazzi will be charged with something?
I think 2 or 3 of the paparazzi who were on the scene, who were in the chase, who saw the crash, and who left, may very well be taken into the courtroom and go to trial the way the French do it, probably for failure to come to the assistance of a person in danger.
The rumor that Diana was pregnant persists, as do so many of the other questions. What, you're saying no?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But we can't prove that one way or the other on the basis of what we have here in France. There was not that kind of autopsy done here.